On May 17th, a small group from Benton Harbor gathered in downtown St. Joseph for a candlelight vigil in honor of murder victims, too many of them unsolved in the minds of the organizers.
What is going on here? We need answers.
The date of the vigil in March was no coincidence. It took place exactly 27 years to the day after 16-year-old Eric McGinnis was last seen at that same spot on State Street in downtown St. Joe.
I think Eric McGinnis was thrown in the river.
Leonard Brown grew up in Benton Harbor, a struggling city that's mostly poor and 85% black. He now runs a Facebook page dedicated to its history with nearly 10,000 members. He's posting pictures of the Benton Harbor residents who wound up dead in the river, some in or near prosperous, tourist-friendly, and 86% white St. Joseph, right across the river. And he's asking his Facebook followers to call federal agents and demand an independent investigation.
I would love to see the FBI look into these cases, reopen some of the cases, especially the Eric McGinnis case.
But Eric McGinnis certainly isn't the only one he's talking about. In 2011, 44-year-old Timothy Bulldog Allen was found dead in the river after last being seen by police near the Napier Avenue Bridge. 2 years later, Dwayne Flowers, age 33, was discovered in the water off Riverview Drive in Benton Harbor. In 2014, it was 39-year-old Alonda Brown floating out in Lake Michigan. Last year, 61-year-old Willie Brand's body turned up in the river. And just this past May, 48-year-old Michael Williams wound up dead floating in Lake Michigan too.
They were all ruled accidental deaths, accidental drownings. No foul play. I do not believe that. I believe that it's just too much of a coincidence. I don't know who exactly threw Eric in the river. Somebody threw him in the river. That's my true belief. And that's a lot of other Benton Harbor residents' true belief, that somebody threw Eric in the river.
I don't believe somebody is killing these individuals over a 30-year period.
Steve Newbecker worked on the FBI Violent Crime Task Force in Benton Harbor for 10 years and is now the interim public safety director in the city of St. Joseph. He's reviewed the Eric McGinnis case several times.
The autopsy report that came back was no blunt force trauma, no fractures, no bruises. And the autopsy ruled by 3 different agencies after they investigated also that it was an accidental drowning.
The Friday night in May 1991 that Eric McGinnis wound up in the river, he was headed here to 505 Pleasant Street in downtown St. Joe, then a teen dance spot called The Club, to meet a white girl he had been dating. But he didn't go inside right away. These police reports include multiple eyewitnesses who say Eric then came to this parking lot and broke into a car, stealing $42. Eric was last seen by an off-duty Berrien County Sheriff's deputy running down the street here on State Street, headed south, being chased by the owner of that car, a heavy-set white male. Eric was never seen alive again. The car owner, who passed a lie detector test, says Eric was simply too fast and he lost him on State Street. Through a Freedom of Information request, ABC 57 News obtained the entire Eric McGinnis file and got access to the remaining evidence, including Eric's school ID and the $49 he had in his pocket when he was pulled from the river by the U.S. Coast Guard.
He very well could have been running that night in the dark, not knowing the river was there, thought he could get across the river, knew he had entered a vehicle and was trying to get away. It's unknown what happened that night.
There is no evidence that anyone chased him into the river, pushed him into the river, threw him into the river.
There is no evidence of that.
Where these two communities came to this one incident from such extraordinarily different perspectives.
Author Alex Kotlowitz literally wrote the book on the Eric McGinnis case. It's called The Other Side of the River. The former Wall Street Journal reporter spent 3 years and did hundreds of interviews trying to get answers.
I did become obsessed.
Kotlowitz says he's still frustrated he never got those definitive answers on what happened to Eric, but came away struck by how the racial divide across the St. Joe River colors people's opinions.
If you ask people in St. Joe, their speculation was that he, knowing the police were out looking for him, tried to swim the river to get home and drowned. If you ask people in Benton Harbor, they would tell you that Eric McGinnis most likely died as a result of foul play.
Somebody pushed him, forced
him in, and the speculation is because he had been dating a white girl, which in fact he had.
And for Leonard Brown, the only way to get to the truth is having an outside agency like the FBI look into the McGinnis case and all the other deaths once again with a fresh set of eyes.
A lot of people do not believe the findings that the St. Joe and the Barron County Sheriff gave out about the case. We don't believe the story. It's not a coincidence. Something is happening.